you have your emails and you have people messaging on Teams, and then you have the WhatsApp group where people are also saying stuff. I'm like, this is so well. People have so much access to you, specifically work, right? And I'm like, I'm so glad I worked in a time where, remember, like WhatsApp was a thing of permission. You must ask someone. But now WhatsApp is a form of communication at work. It's goes without saying that a WhatsApp is a form of communication, whether you telling your boss like, hey, I'm coming in late, or WhatsApp is reasonable. Before it was like you have to call. You literally had to call to say I'm running late, or send an SMS or whatever, because WhatsApp was a form of informal communication, or send an email. Now I even have email. I put emails on my phone, my Outlook, but I mean, before it wasn't even a thing. Now it's like an expectation. But I was just thinking like how I understand why the Gen Z kids are so strict on their personal space and their time, because I get that we have made ourselves so easily accessible, and that's why sometimes we're so tired. But I'm getting so far off here. That's not what I wrote down, but now I'm getting carried away. But I think you can understand, and I think of my mom even back in the day where she had desktops and she would come home with like paperwork, but she couldn't work, which I think was really good because you're never going to finish your work in one day. My friend, you're not. I've just accepted that. Like sometimes I used to want to finish everything and have no task for the next day. It's crazy. Now I base my tasks on my timelines. If something's due for the 1st of August, my friend, I'm not working on it now. That thing will see me on the 24th of July, depending on how serious it is. Where before I'd be like, I need to finish everything because it came into my inbox. I need to clock it. Like, no, just manage. But okay, so far off there. And then my ultimate favorite, and I spoke about it today to my friend, is um, adding people to your email thread. And my favorite is line of sight, LOS. At the beginning, I didn't know what LOS was. So, do you really need me to line of sight this thing? I don't know. You're just filling up my inbox for me. And I personally only CC you in an email because you need to know this content. If the line of sight is not needed to the point that if I miss this project or this information doesn't impact me, don't add me. But if you're sending me something just because I need to see it, eventually becomes boring. And when I see your name and I see line of sight, I don't actually read it because I'm like, I cannot possibly read everything you're working on that you just want me to know of. I don't know. So, and also like ceasing 20 people in an email thread, it becomes so difficult for me to navigate because also with information sharing and all of that, it becomes, why are we ceasing so many people in a mail and in a thread? It's unnecessary. Like if I'm working with Tracy, just send Tracy the email. If it's necessary that Tony needs to know what's happening because Tracy has bought 10 cakes and Tony's the one who slices the cakes, Tony needs to know. But if Tony is working in, now making context to food, if I'm in the bakery and Tony works in the shoe aisle, she has no business about the cake. Why am I adding her for line of sight? Oh, because she also gets deliveries. No, just stop it. We don't want to have line of sight stuff. Like sometimes I get line of sight and then I literally get like overwhelmed because I'm like, I saw my name on the line of sight at Tracy line of sight. I'm like, did I have to read it? Did I read it? I don't know because I get so many emails because email. I mean, I went to school to study to do emails. That's what my degree is. It's email, doctorate stuff. I don't know, but I personally I cannot. So even with me, if I, and I know this might sound cheeky, but if I get an email and I see 20 people there, my friend, I'm taking them out. I'm taking them out. And if you send me back the email and you add them, not a problem. But I feel like I cannot fill other people's inbox with something that had nothing to do with them or just for the sake of them knowing. Because you know what happens there is if you send an email and like, oh, but this happened now, but Tracy knew. I didn't knew. You didn't tell me to knew. You didn't say knew of sight. You said line of sight. And that generally means that I'm just showing you what I'm working on, but it's not necessarily for you to action or FYI. It's literally for your information. I don't know what that means. I don't even mean like I need to literally review this thing and take onus of it and put it on my job task or something, or is it just like, hey, FYI? I say FYI to my man. I'm like, hey, babe, I'm going to the store, FYI. He doesn't need to do anything about that information. I'm just telling you, so you know what I'm saying? So that's also a lot for me, like literally, and also who you ceasing in. If it's the conversations between me and you, now you're ceasing in your leaders. Why? It's not that deep. You don't have to call mom and dad right now. It's unnecessary. For me, it's unnecessary. And I don't want to be filling in the inbox. But you do get some peeps at work that just like add their mom and dad all the time. And I'm like, why? Because also, they don't need to know this. It's so little. It's so unnecessary. And these things I'm going to talk to my friend about when she comes in. So you can see I'm not being excessive, but I hope it's something you can relate to as well. It should be. And then my favorite is meetings. Now this I'm very good at. So I cannot comprehend someone books a meeting for 2 hours. But there's certain parts of what we do that is project based, and I get that. And I know certain people like to brainstorm together. I personally don't like it. If I work on a project or something I do, then I'm like, hey, there's something that we need to do together. Can you please work on it? And we do sit together. We're literally going through stuff we've already done. I find it very difficult to brainstorm over Teams or to like share ideas on something we haven't even created. But if something has been created and we're coming together and we're analyzing it, by all means. But okay, but that I'm not saying no to long meetings. I'm saying how can you anyway sit for 2 hours and listen to conversations, guys? On TikTok, how many times do you even listen to a full TikTok? And TikToks are like 1 2 minutes. We don't. We're literally scrolling. What more for a meeting? So a few things I saw. One, I saw this thing that said some guys, and I think it was a joke, in a meeting they have to plank, and when they have to give feedback, the minute they fall, obviously they need to stop speaking. And then I was like, that's so clever because you'd literally speak on what's important. Sometimes I feel like meetings are set up personally because people just want to speak, and that's why I made a YouTube channel, because I like to speak. So instead of making people sit in 1 hour meeting to hear me, I come here and I speak. So my husband can hear me twice, when I record and when I say this. And then the other thing, I'm like, you literally sitting in the meeting and it's not as productive as it could be, you know? Like my favorite, to mention a few, when I sit in a meeting and then you get the one person who'll be like, hey, so just for me to understand. That sentence is so wrong to begin with. Just for me to understand. You're literally about to repeat what the person just said because you need to understand. My friend, you didn't need to do that out loud. You could have gone later back to listen or just ask the person after the meeting, hey, Tracy, I was a bit confused. Did you mean we're buying 10 cakes or we're buying 9? Because you said you were buying triplets. That's a bad example. I'm just saying. I read somewhere that it says, like, if you're going to speak in a meeting or ask a question, ask yourself, does the question impact only me, the answer rather, or is a question because I really found a gap in the information that was given to me and I need clarity, and the clarity that I'm seeking could add value to everyone else? Then ask the question, hey Tracy, you mentioned we're baking cakes, you said only vanilla because people are allergic to chocolate. What happens if people are allergic to vanilla? Do we have provision for them? Great question. That makes sense. Now you're asking a question like, oh, people are allergic to chocolate cake. How'd you come about that? Does it matter? I don't know. Again, bad examples, but that one is my favorite, where you're literally giving a summary of what the person literally just spoke about. Like, why? And then also, when you set up meetings and you don't say anything, you just set up a meeting like, hey, I'm just setting up this meeting for a quick chat. What are we chatting about, my friend? So I do have a solution for this. So I only set up 15-minute meetings. That's my rule. And if we set up a meeting and you're requesting it from me and you're telling me what it's about, then I'll maybe make it half an hour. But if I cannot express to you what I need within 15 minutes, then I don't understand my task at hand. Like for real. That's me, depending on what job you have, obviously. So I have this thing where when I send a meeting, I'm literally sending you the whole agenda. I'm literally sending you what we're going to chat about, what I need from you. And the reason I'm setting up this meeting, because obviously I can't just call you. I have maybe sent you a Teams message, but I just need your input on something I've already worked on. I'll never just set up a meeting like, hey, so I want to discuss. I see you need cakes. Okay, now I've come to this meeting. I have no idea why you called the meeting. You asking me questions that I might not have the answers to right now, but had you sent me an agenda, have you told me what you want to discuss, I could have like preempted this and come with like, because many times when I do get a meeting request, like, hey, I'm going to chat to you about chocolate cakes. I'm like, okay, actually, I don't deal with chocolate cakes. Can I call you on Teams and we talk about this? And then something happens within 5 minutes and you're like, oh, thanks, Tracy. Tony, actually, that's just an example. Like sometimes we're setting up these meetings and it takes up so much time, and I have sat in long meetings before and it makes sense because it's a group project. But even those meetings, I'm working because I cannot possibly sit for 2 hours and watch people on a screen. Luckily with Teams meetings, you can work. But I remember when we used to have meetings in boardrooms, you couldn't work because it would seem rude. So you're sitting in a meeting and you actually have to focus or make notes. And it was kind of nice because I think we were friends. But now because we have so much access to things, a bit of exercise, how many of us truly sit in meetings and we just stay in the meeting? Sometimes we're scrolling on our phones, we're busy thinking about dinner, we're busy making to-do lists, you're busy working on your budget, you're busy thinking about the fact that when you get home you must now also go to the gym or whatever. We're barely there in the moment. What more, for like a long meeting? But like I said, there are some projects where I sit in and we're like 10 people in the meeting and then we talk about stuff. But yeah, I think the meeting thing for me is definitely like no. And even when I sit with like my stakeholders, I literally set up 15-minute meetings and I'm like, bro, this is what we're discussing. Is there anything else more? Because people are taking information daily, like all the time. We're just taking in information. But sometimes if I leave a meeting, I'm like, what? And then team players, I'm convinced is a strong word. I think that people at work who don't know how to be team players probably don't have friends. And that's it's not a mean thing to say, but it's just an observation. Like I used to work in a team where we were like 4 peeps and reported to our leader. And we had such a great energy to the point where if, because we're all in the same position, if we needed to cover for each other in a sense that we weren't dishonest, but if I made a mistake, I'd be like, guys, I need to talk to you. We obviously in the office, we were talking, like, guys, I made a mistake. I baked a chocolate cake, but it should have been vanilla. However, the inside is white. It's just the icing that's chocolate. What can we do? The one person like, let's wash the cake. The other person's like, okay, let's put money together. Let's replace the cake. But it's not things that will obviously hurt the company, because I'm not saying be dishonest in any way. But what I'm saying is we were such a team that we could solve the problem. So when we do sit with our leader, I'll be honest and say, look, I baked the vanilla cake initially, and it should have been chocolate, but this is what we did. And I love that. I think people who don't know how to be team players is people who like work, and there's a work word in silos. Like, I don't get that. Like, most of the time in our careers, we need team players. And most of the time you're working with people, you want to be able to have a teammate you can trust and someone you can back. And we make mistakes. We're not perfect at work, only perfect wives and moms, but we're not perfect like employees all the time. And it's so nice to be able to like trust someone and go to them vulnerably and be like, look, I made a mistake, but now you're so scared. Are they gonna like use it against you? Or, are they gonna like tell on you, that's use it against you? Or I don't know how to explain. I'm not saying I've worked with bad people, because I've worked, like I said, in a few places, but I think besides the current company that I'm in, like, teamwork really became real here where I am, and it is the best ever, where I can like genuinely say, if I have made a mistake, I'm like, okay, I know I can go to my team and we're gonna find a solution and it's gonna benefit the company. But prior, I would be like, I don't know who I'm gonna speak to. And even now, sometimes you do get a few people in your space where you just don't know what's happening there. And I don't know. I think the point of this, like I said, at work, we do have friendships. I am friends with people I work with. They are my friends and not just my colleagues. And I can generally see people who are out there because they have friendships, and you can see people who are not used to it because they work in such a way where you're like, brah, are you trying to get to a certain space in here by like outing other people? I don't know if that makes sense, but okay, it should. And then my favorite, lastly, um, is CCing people in emails and you're about to start an argument. I'm not gonna lie, we love the tea, we love the tea. But if you send an email and you're like, Tony, I asked for 5 cakes, and Tony's like, no, you asked for 6, and then you said one person was absent, so you need 5, but I already baked 6. Okay, but I'm not paying for the 6th one, but you need to pay for the 6th one because I did the service. But now you're CCing everyone. You see why it goes back to don't CC everyone. Does everyone need line of sight of this? What our rule is, and our leader always tells us, like, if you send an email, if by the 3rd response, so I send a response, you send one, and you send one back to me, now I'm going to send one back to you. Okay? If I don't get it by the time you respond, I must not reply. I must call you. And I know we like to like ask for my last email and just for evidence, like, then just take everyone out and then argue via email, because sometimes we are spicy, but we're spicy here when people are CC'd in. We want to be cleverer, we want to sound like bougier, but don't add us into your arguments, because one, we're definitely sitting there with popcorn for sure. We love a back and forth, but I think also chances are you're going to be fine again tomorrow, and then we read this, and I don't know. Yeah, it's extra. So yeah, I think for the last 2 weeks I've had a lot of these happen, and what I try to do is when something irks me, I ask myself, do I do it as well? So yes, I do these things sometimes, not everything, but then I will hold myself accountable. Like, look, obviously, what irks me, I shouldn't be doing it. But yeah, there's so much things that happen at work that you just like, this is not serious. Do you do this at home? It's not necessarily things that I shared today that do have a solution, but it was just things that I thought was funny and we speak about, and hopefully you can relate to it. So yeah, thank you for joining me quickly. The sun is going down, so I think I made it just in time for the sun hour. And yeah, I think hopefully next week Tony can join me. If you do watch my TikTok, she's the one that I'm always with at work, and then we're gonna have a back and forth conversation about this also, but just about more serious stuff. But luckily we've worked together for years, so it's not necessarily going to be the company we're at now, which is great. So we can disclose things, because we're like, oh, if you talk about work, are they gonna know? Are they gonna know? They're gonna know. But it's not, because we work together in many places, so that also makes it fun. But yeah, guys, enjoy work. If you are the person calling someone because they're on green, or if you are the person CCing your mom and dad into emails on the first email, like, just chill, okay? Just chill. But okay, thank you so much, guys, for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Yes, Emma?